Ancient Egyptians believed that upon death they would be asked two questions. The first question was, did you bring joy? The second question was, did you find joy? Leo Buscaglia. Death is one of the most controversial topics that can be discussed. Religions have tried to explain it with their own theories as to what happens after our hearts cease to function. The ancient Egyptians were one such society that made death the focus of their lives. Specifically, through the process of mummification, tomb building, ceremonial spells and objects, we will explore how they sought to continue their lives long after their departure from the mortal realm, learning more about the culture and beliefs of this great people in the process. Mummification was an essential process to the ancient Egyptians as it preserved the body so that it could be reunited with the spirit, or Ka, in the afterlife. You see, according to history major John Jack George, in his article entitled The Soul's Journey Through the Ancient Egyptian Afterlife, the soul was not one single entity, but was instead split into three parts: the Ka, the Ba, and the Yak. The Ka is what gives life to the body and must absorb nutrients from food in order to survive. The Ba manifested itself as a bird with the head of a human and would travel between the land of the living and the land of the dead. The Ka and Ba combined would form the Ak, was the complete spiritual form of the individual that would live among the gods if they were worthy. For those fortunate enough to afford mummification, the process took approximately 70 days and consisted of numerous rituals, both physical and spiritual, that were designed to preserve the body for the afterlife. First, the corpse was embalmed, which dried it out so it would not decompose. Then it was wrapped in magical linens, and special amulets of protection were placed upon it. Most importantly was the heart scarab amulet, which was placed over the deceased's heart for later use. The body is then placed in a tomb, which was filled with that which the individual loved in life, as well as food, which would nourish the Ka, and other valuables which the individual may need in the afterlife. Another expensive yet important item within the tomb was the Book of the Dead, a scroll tailored to the individual that was filled with useful spells and rituals that would help the individual survive the journey into the afterlife through the Duat, or the underworld. The Duat was essentially a darker manifestation of the earth, sharing similar geography but also filled with countless demonic entities trying to devour the soul of the individual, as well as dangerous caverns and guarded gates. Some sources say that the god of the death, Anubis, would guide souls through the Duat. Brooke Johnson states in a 2001 entry in Rundo, the McGill Journal of Classical Studies, a spirit's voyage to heaven could only be successful if he were to recite the correct words and perform the appropriate procedures along his voyage. Should the deceased successfully navigate these obstacles, they would find themselves at the hall of Maat, or the goddess of truth and justice. Here, the individual would face a total of 42 gods, addressing each by name and listing a sin they did not commit in life, such as, "I did not lie." Now, most of us have not lived such virtuous lives. This is why the ancient Egyptians developed the heart scarab amulet, which prevented the heart from revealing the sins of the deceased. Having satisfied the gods, the pivotal moment comes in a ceremony known as the weighing of the heart. A 2018 article by scholar Joshua J. Mark claims that the heart of the soul was handed over to Osiris and placed on a great golden scale against the feather of Maat, or the feather of truth. If the heart was heavier than the feather, then the monstrous god Amit, who had the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lion, and the legs and backside of a hippopotamus, would devour the soul, and the individual would cease to exist. This was the ultimate punishment for ancient Egyptians. If the heart was considered pure, then the soul would be sent to Aru, or the field of reeds. Here, gods and man lived together. However, each individual was responsible for working a plot of land. Shabti dolls were figurines that were placed within the tomb that would serve the individual in the afterlife. thus helping them to complete this goal. While many people believe ancient Egyptians to be obsessed with death, instead they were obsessed with life, specifically how to preserve it long after their physical bodies gave out. By examining the various processes, objects, and rituals that the ancient Egyptians used to ensure their immortality, we are able to understand more about the mindset and culture of this great people.